The Tech Talk channel warmly welcomes you. Today I'm going to talk about the advanced features of Obsidian that I've discovered over a couple of years of using it. Namely, how to build a proper workflow with notes and structure them correctly, and how to manage a calendar directly within Obsidian without using any external app. We'll discuss the best Obsidian plugins that I've selected. For example, a plugin that forwards messages from Telegram to Obsidian via a bot in just a few seconds. You might be surprised, but I believe this video will be enough to make the switch from paid and sometimes very expensive services like Notion or Coda to the free Obsidian. If you use the right plugins and know Obsidian's secrets, the transition won't just be painless, it will be productive. I won't be covering how to install it or create notes. Today's video is for those who are already familiar with Obsidian and want to feel as comfortable as possible using it. This is the real deal. Let's start with the calendar. To make it work, you need to install an external Obsidian plugin, but it's not the installation that matters. It's the workflow itself. I was exhausted. I tried Google Calendar, I set reminders in Telegram, but everything was inconvenient. Reminders got lost, events were missed. Finally, here it is, the workflow. You create a note for the day after tomorrow. Enable the display of the daily note at Obsidian Startup. I'll show you in a second. And when you launch the app, the first thing you see is what's planned for today. We haven't planned anything for today since we added a note for the day after tomorrow. But if it were already the day after tomorrow, we'd see that it's time to prepare for Friday. How do we achieve this? First, go to Community Plugins in Obsidian Settings and enable the Calendar plugin. I think the settings are default. I don't remember exactly. Well, that's how I have it set up. In the core plugins, enable this Daily Notes. In the settings, make sure to check this box. It will open the current day's note when Obsidian starts. It's also highly recommended to create and specify a folder where notes will be stored. I'll explain why. Obsidian will create an empty daily note if you haven't created anything for that day in advance. At some point, there will be too many of them, so it makes sense to delete them periodically. It's a small price to pay to avoid missing something important just because you forgot. Another cool Obsidian plugin that I use all the time is a Telegram bot that forwards messages directly into Obsidian's feed. Here's an example. The message doesn't appear here because it's already imported, complete with all links, dates, and so on. But this process isn't fast, so I'll cover it at the very end. Now let's talk about the structure. It took me a long time to figure this out. First, let's discuss bookmarks. They seem trivial, but they are crucial. Once you create bookmarks for what you truly need and limit their number to, say, 10, you'll realize what's actually important for you. You can choose a folder here, and I'd advise having a couple of global bookmarks and a couple of folders, each with 3 or 4 bookmarks at most. This will force you to structure your Obsidian database, and the idea of needing a landing page will come naturally, but we'll get to that later. For now, another life hack. Get a notebook. It feels almost inappropriate to call this a life hack, but let me ask you, do you have a notebook? I used to lose up to 50% of information because I didn't. The point is, you often need to jot down information quickly, somewhere. You write it down, and 2 days later you forget where and what you wrote. The information is lost. To prevent this, write everything urgent in the notebook and later sort it out in a calm atmosphere. Throw some things away, keep others, but put them in their place. And keep your notebook clean and organized. And this is where the structure of the Obsidian database comes in. It took me a long time to find the right approach. I tried tags, zero indexes, tried everything. Notes got lost. Everything felt unorganized and chaotic until I realized that nothing beats a simple hypertext document based on the nested doll, Matryoshka principle. It's like Borges' story about a man who set off to find treasure at the end of the world, only to discover that it had always been buried near his own house. Paulo Coelho even wrote a novel on this, and the Hasidic tradition has a short parable with the same plot. Well, it's the same here. I had to try many different options before returning to the landing page structure. From it, you link to other landing pages. You develop the structure yourself. I didn't plan anything in advance. It all emerged naturally over time. As long as you don't scatter notes without linking them, the database will build itself. Ideally, everything in your graph should be interconnected. In my case, not everything is, but I need to go through it again. Those are the forgotten notes, and here is the daily note. So it turned out that if you structure everything properly, you can split it into 2 databases, personal and work. Of course, I still search for most things because the search function here is great, but sometimes it's hard to imagine what you need to search for. That's when the structure saves the day. And when you realize that some notes don't fit into any existing category, you can always create a new one. Another useful external Obsidian plugin adds visual elements. If you can't see all the plugins here, just move the panel. This information clearly belongs to the Obsidian secrets. I once lost an icon and spent 2 hours searching for a solution online. That's the kind of plugin it is. It has some visual elements which are quite handy. But what I love most about it are these widgets. They really help break up the monotony of the text. Obsidian is a bit plain when it comes to design. The plugin is called Markdown Formatting Assistant. And here are its settings. In general, installing plugins in Obsidian is done like this. Go to Community Plugins, browse, and find what you need. Once found, install and enable it. Now, let's go over the Obsidian plugins. Another useful plugin is related to tables. It's quite simple, but in my opinion, complex tables in Obsidian are an overkill. There are plugins for working with Excel, but in this case it's easier to use Google Sheets since they are designed for this purpose. This plugin is called Advanced Tables. Here are the settings, which I believe are also default. Next, here's a handy feature, backlinks at the bottom of the page, meaning you can return to the note that references the current one. They are available here by default, but the tab is often closed, and since we're discussing advanced Obsidian features, we want to minimize unnecessary actions. As far as I remember, this is in the core plugins. Here are the backlinks. There's also a great plugin that fetches the title from an external link. Let me explain. You paste a link, and it fetches the article title and even the source name. This is achieved through the Obsidian Auto-Link Title plugin. To give you a clearer idea, here's the same link without using the plugin. It's a small thing, of course, but it's a nice touch. Then there's the Commander plugin. It's okay. It allows you to customize toolbar panels. If you take the time, it can be useful, but I didn't bother much. I just added the page split button here and that's it. But it's worth playing around with. It's a good feature in theory. And that's all. Kanban. These are Kanban boards. They're useful, but they deserve a separate video. The last thing I wanted to cover in this video is the Telegram Sync plugin. In my opinion, this plugin best showcases the advanced capabilities of Obsidian. So, you download it, install it, go to Settings, and here you need to enter the API of the bot in Telegram. To get the bot's API, you first need to create the bot, which makes sense. For that, we need bot father. There's a menu there, and we need a new bot. Bot name. Bot username. Done. Here's the API we need. We need to paste it here. Here you enter your account nickname or user ID. If the nickname doesn't work, Telegram will let you know. In that case, enter your user ID. Alright, it seems to be connected. Now let's find the bot. Launch it, send a message. It seems to have sent. Let's check. Here's the rule for processing events. The default one is currently working. Let's see what it does. Here it is. This is the path for the forwarded messages. It created a Telegram folder and sends messages there, naming them with the first 30 characters of the content and the creation date. Let's check the Telegram folder. Yes, here's our hello. It works. Now let's send it something more complicated, something about Neptune. We simply take the message and forward it to our bot. Look, it's already arrived. Here's how it looks. Let's go over the plugin settings. Message filter, all. I won't go into too much detail. If you're interested, check out their website, but I'll cover all the essentials. This is the path to the template. This is the path to the note. Currently, it sends each message as a separate note. If you want to gather all messages in one note, you need to create it and specify its location here. I already have one created and it's called this. Let's check it right away. Mine is called Telegram Feed, and here, yes, a new message appears at the bottom. Everything looks good, but there's no date. This can be fixed with templates. Create a template. I already have one, and it's quite simple. The developer's website has a list of commands if you want to make it more complex. Mine only includes content and the date in the format: year, month, day. You specify the path to the template here. These are the templates. Tele. Let's check. Yes, everything comes in perfectly formatted and with the date. And the last important thing, to avoid cluttering the feed in the Telegram bot, you can enable this checkbox in the advanced settings. It will delete the messages from Telegram after sending them to Obsidian. This plugin has been a lifesaver for me. And for me, the advanced features of Obsidian are best represented by Telegram Sync. These are the 3 buttons I use all the time: a clean notebook, a system of landing pages, no more than 3, I only need 2, and the calendar. That's it. Nothing else is needed. Criticism like, you can't work in Obsidian without this feature, or you absolutely need those plugins for Obsidian isn't accepted. You can, and you even should, if you're not handling very specific tasks. An average person like me, who by the way handles many tasks in Obsidian, can fully utilize the capabilities of Obsidian that we discussed today. That's all. Likes are greatly appreciated. I shared information that 2 years ago, when I was just starting to figure out Obsidian, I would have given my arm for, well, not my arm, my car. Although no, I wouldn't give my car either. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and love each other. It's absolutely essential nowadays. And remember, in the end, everything will be fine. This is Vova Lomov, and you're watching Tech Talk.